Before we start today, I have to tell you about State Farm agent Brian McDevitt. A lot of our listeners have gone to him for all their insurance needs, and he's been very helpful in getting them the coverage they deserve. There's no games with Brian. He's just here to help and make sure you feel safe. So if you have insurance needs and you haven't called him yet, what are you waiting for? Dial up the number, 630-796-2662. That's 630-796-2662. Or find him online at ryanismyagent.com. That's ryanismyagent.com. And make sure to mention Sports Talk Chicago. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. I want to start today with this. Sometimes as people, we like to overreact. Bears fans know this, right? I mean, think about it. For 30, 40, 50 years, all you've eaten was bread. Now, bread's not bad. It gets the job done sometimes, but you want some more flavor. You want action, life. So it's been bread for about 30, 40 years. Now, you see the lobster. You see Justin Fields waiting on a platter for you. The waiter's bringing it to you, but you can't wait. You got to run up and grab it from him and start eating. No one wants to wait. Waiter's walking right to your table, but you want it right now. You've been sick of the bread for the past 30, 40 years. I get it. Believe me, I understand. I mean, I don't enjoy watching Rex Grossman, Cade McNown, Josh McCown, Jay Cutler, Nick Foles, Mike Lennon. I've had enough, too, in my life. I want to see a superstar. I want to see this team finally get a 4,000-yard passer. How is it that the Bears are the only team in football to not have that? That's embarrassing. But then again, the time may not be right. There's a reason why the lobster takes time to prepare. Why the waiter walks it over to you. You don't run up to the kitchen and grab it. You wait. You make sure it's cooked to perfection. You make sure it's served to you correctly on a platter, at a table, with a fork and a knife. Everything has to be perfect. It has to be prepared perfectly, presented perfectly, for you to enjoy it. You may want the lobster in your hand, but when you go up and grab it off the platter and eat it with your bare hands, you won't enjoy it as much. Versus sitting down in a fancy restaurant, dressing up, getting all your utensils ready, and enjoying the meal. You want to enjoy the meal, not rush and have it all be gone in a second. It's what Bears fans need to realize about Justin Fields. What do you want as a fan base? Do you want to enjoy the meal? Or are you that desperate, that quarterback deprived, that you need it right now this second? Now, I learned something back in economics class when I was in college. Nobody wants to wait. Everybody prefers the present to the future. People prefer money today versus money in 20 years when if you put on interest, it could be worth more. Just a fact. Same thing applies here. If you wait a couple of games even, not just right away, but even a couple of games, he doesn't have to sit the whole year. You'll get what you need. You'll get a 15-year franchise quarterback who could lead you back to the Super Bowl. But no one wants that. People want it today, right now. Why isn't Fields starting? Why isn't he with the first team? What the hell's going on? Well, back up a second. As we talked about a couple of days ago after the preseason game, it's not that Fields isn't talented, but the Bears do not have the right pieces to make things successful. They don't have the utensils. They don't have the fork and the knife to help cut up the lobster. They don't. They have no O-line. And even though the receivers are okay when everybody's at full strength, I still don't believe it's enough. They really don't have a formidable number 3 option yet. They could. I think Daz Newsome could be that guy, but it's not confirmed yet. We got to wait. They have a run game, which is fine, but nothing will work if you don't have an O-line. I had Mike Harmon on. You'll hear it later in this program. We talked about last year, Mitch and Nick. Say what you want to know. The skill level's much different, but no matter what, they were running for their lives every play. They had no O-line help, and it improved at the end of the year, but still it wasn't enough. I don't understand why it's a good idea to put him in week 1 away in Los Angeles against Aaron Donald when your entire O-line is injured. Tevin Jenkins, Larry Borum, still not playing, still not ready. You signed a 39-year-old Jason Peters, whoop-de-doo. I mean, do you really believe that's going to make a difference? No, it's not. Minimal at best. Not to say Peters is a bad player, but what 39-year-old on the offensive line have you seen succeed in the NFL? If you can name a couple, put them in the comments. Put them somewhere. Tag me on social media at Jon Z Sports, because I don't see anything. I've never heard of that before in my life. So there's a reason why all this is happening. And now we saw a report just yesterday, quote, "We're going to get Andy Dalton more snaps." Nagy told reporters on Monday that Andy Dalton remains the number 1 quarterback in Chicago. He remains on track to start against the Rams on Sunday Night Football. Nagy also said that the plan for this week's game against the Bills is for Dalton to spend more time on the field than he did against the Dolphins. Andy had 6 plays. It's hard to say much good or bad. We're going to get him some more snaps. You know what I love? Love the outrage at this. You know, you go on Twitter. I have the article right here. 50 quote tweets. Oh boy. No one's happy. I have no problem with this strategy. And for those of you who followed me since the day Fields got drafted, I said he should not start game 1. Now, I'll admit at first I was wrong. I said he should sit out the whole year. That's a bit too much, I admit. But to play him week 1 when you don't have an O-line against Aaron Donald. Oh, and by the way, you paid Andy Dalton some money to be the starting quarterback, QB1. Why would you start Fields? You know, people addressed this in the last video I did, saying, well, Fields is more mobile. Why don't you want him starting? It doesn't matter. The mobility is not the issue. The issue is, no matter what, no O-line. No matter what. He could be mobile. He could run for 100 yards. No O-line. And everybody's saying, well, you can't hold him out just because you're scared of an injury. Everybody gets hurt. Yeah, okay, so you want him to tear his ACL and have his career be over? What happened to RG3? Joe Burrow. Not saying his career is over, but last year took a tough turn. Don't you learn your lesson from the past? From other players, other big quarterbacks in the NFL? Shouldn't we learn our lesson? And ironically enough, the Redskins at the time and the Bengals are both quarterback-needy organizations, even to this day. They've never had a big franchise quarterback in a while. They were desperate, and they paid the price. Why should the Bears continue down that road? They've seen what desperation does. We all know what desperation does. Life lesson. When you're desperate, sometimes you make stupid decisions. Let the meal come to you on a platter. Eat it correctly. He's not ready yet. Had a couple of good balls, great. I liked the way he threw. I saw poise, mobility. I loved it. You have to remember this too, though. That's against the second-string Miami Dolphins defense. Andy Dalton will get more first-string reps. Why? He's supposed to start week 1. They are not wavering from that plan. And here's an interesting note, by the way, and Mike Harmon talks about this a bit. Makes sense. Last season for Matt Nagy. Took out Mitch, put in Nick, went back to Mitch. Made the playoffs and probably saved his job. What happens if you start Fields and he tanks? Who are you going to put in? Andy Dalton, he's supposed to be the backup. Andy won't save your season. It's in Nagy's best interest to take Fields off the bench, to see the team go 0-5, 1-4, and put in Fields and say, hey, maybe he could save us. Versus 0-5, Fields in, no one to turn to. Remember, Matt Nagy wants to keep his job too. And I still do believe he's somewhat under thin ice. See, no one's talked about that aspect yet, but that's a glaring one that's ever present. Still there. Nagy wants job security. And I'm sure he's been told, hey, if you develop Fields right, we'll keep you. Do you really think he's going to rush him out there just for everybody else's sake? No. I'm still targeting week 4 for Fields to come in against Detroit. Perfect day to do it. Look, if Mitch Trubisky, whom everybody hates, could beat up on the Lions, there's no reason why Justin Fields shouldn't either. Best way to start, builds up some confidence, momentum, play him the rest of the year, see what happens. But up until then, I don't see the benefit in just putting him in. For no reason, with no O-line. If they had no line, it'd be different, I'll be honest. It would be a different story. They had proper protection, but they don't. I don't see why it's good to sit here and rush him and probably tear his ACL or have an ankle injury that could progress into next year. We didn't even talk about that. And I can't stand the argument, oh, why are you putting him out because of a possible injury? No. The point is, he has no O-line. The odds that he does get hurt are great. Oh, but he's mobile. Doesn't matter. Pockets do collapse. There are times in which the quarterback, mobile or not, gets sacked, and you traded draft capital to get him. You traded up. To their credit, even though it was John Fox at the time, they did protect Mitch. They waited a couple of games to put him in. Fine by me. No one said a word back then. Everyone was okay with it. No one said, oh, I want Mitch to start game 1. No. Why has it changed now? What, because Fields is more talented? He is, but he has nothing around him. I mean, you can't tell me as a real Bears fan, a biased Bears fan even, that this team is a great O-line and they're ready to protect Fields. They're not. The guy's going to get lit up. And I'll say this much. It's not going to be well for his psyche to be running every time he gets the football. Away from defenders, not design runs. I'm talking about running away from Aaron Donald 20 times on Sunday Night Football. Not going to help. Not going to benefit him. I mean, come on here. Let's think about what to do and how this would benefit the team. Would it benefit the Bears to just put him in right away? No. I don't see the benefit. If I'm wrong, tell me. What's the benefit to put him in right away with no O-line? Versus wait a couple of games, see if guys get healthy, see if Andy Dalton can even play, then make the move. You know, everybody benefits from him sitting. I'm being serious here. Fields doesn't have to play with no O-line. Andy Dalton at least plays a bit so you could justify the contract. Matt Nagy could turn and save his job if Dalton doesn't work. Versus if you put in Fields right away and he doesn't work, you're in big trouble. Ryan Pace won't draft a bust of a quarterback if you wait on Fields. So as much as you want him in, think about everybody who has skin in the game here. And who's going to benefit and who isn't. I see absolutely no benefits to putting him in right away. I don't. I don't see any benefits. All I see is caving into public opinion and satisfying fans' need a quarterback, even though it could be satisfied in a couple of games. I've waited 40 years for a quarterback. Why do I have to wait more? Because if you wait, you'll get a 15-year veteran who could win a Super Bowl for you. Versus ruining him right away, having him scarred for life, and having him become Mitch Trubisky. I'm not saying Mitch is a bust. I'm saying he has been scarred by his experience here in Chicago. There's no question. Because of play calling, no protection, and yes, bad play at times. You really want that to happen to Fields too? I don't think so. There's a saying in life, and actually it applies to this situation perfectly. Whatever you do, whatever decision you make sure it benefits you. Look out for yourself. The Bears have to look out for themselves here. And putting in Fields game 1 is the complete opposite for everybody involved. Fields would have no O-line, so he'd be running for his life all night long against Aaron Donald. If Fields doesn't work, who can Matt Nagy turn to? He could be fired. If the Bears go 0-4 with Fields, then what? He'll lose his job, and the Bears will have to bring in a new coach who could develop him. And that's fine, but not good for him. And if that does happen, if the team does go 0-4 with Fields, Ryan Pace won't look too good either. Not to mention the fact you've got a rookie quarterback who has no help and no backing. To me, it all adds up. Makes pretty good sense here that he should not start. And those who tell you he should are fans, and that's fine. I know you've been waiting. I know it's been 40 years. I know it's been so long for this team. But I go back to the lobster analogy. You order a lobster in a restaurant, and you see it being walked over to you on a platter. You got your napkin. You got your utensils. You're ready. You're going to run up, grab the platter from the waiter, and just start eating it with your hands. No, you're going to wait to sit down and enjoy the dinner. Same thing here. Sit down and enjoy what Justin Fields will bring to you. No need to rush him. No need to scar him. If you really want him to be a franchise quarterback. More to come here on Sports Talk Chicago. My interview with Mike Harmon comes up next, so stay tuned.